We have been through the film extensively to see what happened and what took place, and we came out just not executing some really basic stuff that we needed to do. These guys game planned well. Things that we practiced, we didn't execute in the game, and so we're real disappointed in that because generally that isn't the case. We just missed some stuff, and they took advantage of it, and we got off to a start where the Bills are ahead 14 to nothing when the offenses had 3 plays. So it was a terrible start for us. However, we know, we've been through enough starts that that doesn't mean much in just how you're going to finish it. And we've wound our way back into this game, before the end of the third quarter, 27-20, and we needed to keep winning. And we got beat on a couple situations, and they just stayed out ahead of us. We couldn't keep a hold of the football, and we turned out a really lousy performance for the day. So there's plenty of stuff in there that we can recognize this, and then there's some stuff in there that just didn't feel right at all, and that we don't turn the ball over 4 times in a game, and at any time. I don't know if we've ever even done that. Maybe we have. I'm sure we have somewhere, but it was just uncharacteristic and felt terrible to put a performance like that up. But I do know this is a really good team, and they took advantage of it. They were on point, and they're gonna be a good club down the stretch. They're gonna be hard to deal with for anybody. I think if you didn't know about Josh Allen, you can feel him. He's a really good football player, and he did his stuff like he's done throughout the year, and we weren't able to keep him from it. Even with hitting him as much as we did and getting pressure on him and all that, he still was really effective. So it was a lousy trip, and we got to get back to business. And so we've reset, our focus here. Obviously, getting back in the Northwest is good. We dealt with all the issues in our meetings today, and we got to get cranked up for a trip down to LA. Big matchup with the Rams.
Brady?
Hey, Pete, you've said before that looking back on that 2017 game against Tennessee, that you guys were, not to put words in your mouth, I think this is how I remember you saying that you guys were emotionally drained from all the conversations that you had the night before. Do you think anything like that could have been at play yesterday with what was happening with the election and how it dragged out and it basically wasn't decided until Saturday night?
I don't think so, Brady. I don't. We didn't get in any of those kinds of discussions. It was not topical for us in our meetings, other than to acknowledge what had happened and kind of just keeping track of stuff. I don't think so. The meetings that we had back in Tennessee, that was a totally different, kind of setting, and everything about that was different, and it was much more fiery and emotional and gut felt, and it was different. So I don't think that's what happened. Maybe it looked the same, but this just was a poor performance for us, and I don't think we can put it anywhere. But we just got to play better.
And follow up on the injury situation. Do you have any clarity on the running backs and also the 3 guys who sprained their ankles yesterday?
Yeah, well, let's go with Carlos. Will be working this week to try to get back. So we'll see what that means on Wednesday, Thursday. But he is running and he is working with the thought that if he can make it through the week, that he could play. Chris is in the same boat. Really got an update just now that he's got a chance, and we'll have to see how he tolerates the work. And when he gets out, he's already out running and working on his cutting and stuff like that. So that's a good statement going into Wednesday, and we'll see how that works. I'd hoped that we would get a look at him last week on Friday. That's what we had planned to. It just didn't work out, and so we'll see as we're going. It's encouraging though.
Thanks.
Corbin?
Oh, wait. You asked about a couple other guys too. Brian Monet had a pretty good high ankle sprain. It's going to be a problem for him right away. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days, but that was probably the most serious injury that we had. He got caught up and got cut from behind and tangled up. KJ bounced back pretty good today, and who's the other ankle? DJ Reed's moving pretty good today too. So the initial look is that it was not a severe ankle at all.
Thanks.
Corbin? Hey, Pete, 8 games in, it's clear that the defense is still trying to find an identity here. And typically in the past, a lot of four-man rushes, cover three, winning with coverage. And this year, we've had to change things up with the injuries, some of the new pieces coming in, more blitzing. Looking at how the season has gone so far, how challenging has it been for you from a scheme and philosophical standpoint with those changes being made?
Yeah, it has been a challenge as we're kind of adapting. We've been waiting for guys to get back out there and making sure that we're doing what's best for the guys that are playing. And we would like to be aggressive. We started out the season really being aggressive and getting after it. And we in the last couple of weeks, we've turned our focus back to that somewhat in an attempt to get some heat on the quarterback. And we have. We've had a lot of sacks the last couple of weeks, and we're moving in the right direction in terms of that. We got to make sure we're complementing it with our play on the other, on the back end. We continue to give up stuff that we don't need to give up. There's just too many plays that have gotten away from us, and some of it's been execution. And we made a couple errors yesterday, and they were big plays. And so it's been a challenge, and it's been frustrating, because we feel like we can do much more than we're doing right now. The running game obviously isn't even an issue. It's all about the throwing game, and we got to make sure that we're taking care of business. And with the pressure that's coming, and the guys that are bringing the pressure, that's a strength of ours. We need to play off of that.
John?
Yep. Pete, you touched on the travel early in the year, but now that you guys have been through it 4 or 5 times, what are some of the challenges and what's gone into, who are the people that have kind of made it all work with traveling and all the challenges with COVID?
Yeah, shoot, John, there's so much that's different on these trips now. Just getting on the plane and getting through the process, just everything about it's a different mentality. Everybody's going through the same thing, so it's shared experience for all the clubs that are doing it. But it's just staying within the protocols and staying, spaced and all of that. On the road, we don't see anybody in the hotels at all. I mean, we're just so isolated. That's different. The whole food service part of the thing, our guys are phenomenally organized to do that. You guys would be amazed at how much it takes for everybody to order their meals before the weekend, and then all the meals are delivered and scheduled. It's amazing how much they're doing with that. Everything about going to the stadium, being in the towns, Buffalo was a ghost town, everything about it just feels different. So there's just a different sense and awareness in everything that we're doing. That's all about, just staying in compliance. And so the testing that we do on the, before we leave and on the road and all that kind of stuff, we've tested when we've arrived late at night, where we get here at 12:30 or something, and we're testing that night for the next day. And there's just all kinds of things that are different.
And along those lines, as long as you've been here, you've preached control what you can control, the no excuses, all that. How much do you think that's helped you guys this year of just taking things in stride?
John, I'm really pleased with what we've done. We've done it in a very strict fashion. We've tried to make an appeal to our guys from the start, about why we're doing everything that we're doing and where it fits into, and why we need to have a good attitude about complying, so we're not fighting it the whole time. If you're in denial of the whole thing, then it's so much easier to misstep and all, and so it seems like it's been received well by the players. I'm most concerned about the new guys as we transition guys in, because they don't have the background in all of the conversation that we've been through. So we try to pick them off one at a time as they get in here, and just make sure we hammer it. We left some guys at home this weekend, for rehab purposes, and in doing so, we really were concerned about those guys because they are outside of, kind of the team connection, even though they were rehabbing here, but and they had to test here. I mean, there's just so much stuff, but I think we're doing really well, and we're always, for anything that happens, we set up, a kind of a reaction, a response thought and team, what we would do if it would have happened to us, and everything that we hear in all the different incidents around the league. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we just try to stay abreast of it so that when it happens, we can kick butt and minimize the magnitude of what comes up.
Tim?
Pete, how would you assess how Quentin Dunbar has played the first half of the season? And then with that, how is his knee, and then the injuries to Ugo and Shaquille, do you think you'll get them back this week?
It was a hard game yesterday. for Quentin. It was just the ball kept coming his way, and he had trouble getting where he needed to get to on a couple things. It was hard on him, and it was a hard game on him just physically. He, like I've said, maybe said to you guys this morning or something. He goes through a week of process to get through it. He gets a little bit of work on one day and a little bit of work the next day to try to put together a full day's work in preparation for each week. And in that we're trying to rehab his knee as he goes through it. It's just been a chronic thing for him. He can play with it, which he has, but it was hard on him. Ugo looks he's going to try to practice tomorrow, or check that Wednesday. I don't know that about Shaq right now. He's a little farther behind in his return. It's all about his hamstring, and so we'll see what happens with those guys.
Jackie?
Coach, kind of bigger picture, now that you guys are 8 games in, what's your overall impression on how your team has done through the first half of the season?
Yeah, I'm if you'd asked me in the start of the season, how would you feel, where do you want to be at the halfway point? I said I want to be undefeated, but the next thing I would have said is we'd like to be in first place in our division, because that's where all of our focus lies. And that you finish out the season and you have a chance to play at home in the playoffs, and so that's the best way to control that. It's we're sitting on the plane and we get the Arizona result come in, and realize, okay, this is what it is. Everybody's battling and everybody's playing each other and playing the same teams and all of that, and we're all fighting our way through it. To be in first place at the halfway point is what we need to be, and so. But the fact that we're there doesn't mean anything, because it's what we're going to do about it now. And so that's what our focus goes immediately to, as it always does, to the very next step that we take, and that's this big game coming up against the Rams. And it feels like all of these games, it's championship run time, and that's just what this is. And so we have to see if we can respond 1 week at a time and find the plan and find the preparation and the great mentality it takes to go ahead and play another good football game and see if we can get it done.
Joe?
Do you think Russ is pressing at all with how many points and yards the defense is giving up?
I don't think you can avoid the thought that he walked out on the field after 3 plays and it's 14-0. You try to really ignore the fact. We know we pretty much know we're going to score 30 points somewhere out here, so it just takes some time to do it. And it was how we were talking, through the first half and at halftime. You try to stay in focus so that you don't push and press, to get something done. The first 4th down call that we have down in there, that's a play that he did he took a shot, because that's what the 4th down go for it was down there, and to take a shot in the end zone. So that's where he gets a pick, and so it looks like he forced that ball, and he tried to find some space in the back corner. But as the game goes on, he's just got to battle through it. He's great at focusing. He's great at staying with it. He's great at believing and knowing that you just got to keep executing. He's been famous for that, and nobody wants to play from 17-3 or whatever the heck it is. When we're down and all that, we want to keep the score more equal as long as we can. But Russell can handle it as well as anybody. But I don't think he's pressing. No, I think yesterday he was challenged by it though, and I think he made it through it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't the game. He got smacked a couple times on the turnovers that were protection oriented, and that's different.
Curtis?
Yeah, Pete, given the no preseason, all the injuries you guys have had on defense, do you even know necessarily at this point what your defense is, what you guys do well? Do you have a sense for what the group is and what it could be at this point?
I would have told you last week that we were really coming. We played the running game really well against the Niners, and they threw some yards in the 4th quarter when we were ahead. I would have felt, clear about that. We came into this game to go ahead and continue from that. That wasn't the way that they wanted to play, so we were in a total passing game. So as we adapted to it, it was we didn't adapt well enough to keep them from scoring a bunch of points. But they got the ball on the 3-yard line and they got the ball on the 20 and all that stuff. And we couldn't keep them out of there. So we played better as the game went on. We got more heat and played more aggressively and. So I think we're clear on what we're trying to do up front and how we're trying to play it. We got to clean up what's going on the back end and make sure we're not giving up plays. The fact that we're able to get some pressure now and heat it up, guys are playing to it and we're playing to their strengths. I think that's a real positive.
Bob?
Yeah, what's any update with Rashad Penny and Darrell Taylor? And then how would you assess Jamal Adams' game yesterday?
Yeah, both Rashad and Darrell continued to progress. Darrell is working out with the strength and conditioning people now. He made a transition to that, so he's really working hard now. He's really working on cutting and moving and multiple direction changes and things like that are leading him back. I don't know how long that will take. We'll see how he responds. He had a really good day today, and how does he respond tomorrow is really important. So we'll see what's going on there. And then there was a third one you asked about.
Well, Rashad Penny.
Rashad's he's doing. I'm sorry. He's doing all the same stuff. He's working out. He's cutting. He's as strong as he's ever been. He's at a good weight for him. It's just a matter of when they feel and he feels that he's got the confidence to go out there and bang those cuts. And being a speedster and a guy that really stop and start kind of guy, he's got to get all that movement done before we can cut him loose out there.
And then also Jamal Adams. What was your assessment of how he played yesterday?
Jamal played really hard. He was really aggressive. He had a couple plays that got away from him that he would like to play better. But he was a factor, as he's going to be. He's really aggressive, really tough. I thought the playing 4 quarters was a challenge for him, but he was a stud about it and got through it. He hadn't played in a month, so he'll be better that way as we go in the next couple of weeks. He's really a factor, and just got to keep putting him in the right spots and cutting him loose.
Greg?
Hi, Pete.
Hey.
On Jamal Adams, how much of what he's best at, blitzing and being aggressive, like you said, how much does that come as a risk or burden to the rest of the secondary? It kind of exposes them.
Well, whenever you play as aggressive, style as we were playing, in the second half yesterday, you can get exposed, and you have to overcome it and mix your calls and make sure that you try to stay one step ahead of it. I don't think it has to do with Jamal. I mean, there was a week ago when we said let's get after it more and use our guys and make sure that Bobby's really involved and KJ's really involved, and those guys have really responded, and so I'll tell you in a couple of weeks more how to answer that.
And to a layman who's just watching the game at home and he sees defensive backs 10 yards off the ball on 3rd and 5 or 15 yards off, what's the design there, and why was that some of the things you're talking about, just not executing the plan that you guys practice?
Yeah, the course of the game kind of dictated a little bit of the play, for some of the guys, and sometimes the guys, he's looking at the situation. It's splits that make him back off. We backed off more than we should have a few times, and we were deeper than we should have been. Those are really just technique principles, and some of it is a guy, trying to figure out what the situation is bringing him and how he can best position himself. For instance, Quentin Dunbar is a guy that really plays on feel and a different style than just a straight on the line of scrimmage press guy. That's not been the way he plays. So as we learn him and we adapt to him, we're trying to figure out how to best position him. And sometimes he's coming up with some stuff that it's farther off than we would see fit. But we're trying to figure it out to best help him play. And there was a couple backside situations that you wouldn't know where he's playing half field stuff, and so it looked like he was well off farther than you would expect him to be. You wouldn't understand the principle of it, but it just didn't look good, and so I feel bad for that. But that's how it goes sometimes. You got to play the call and play the system, and he's a different player than the guys that we've been playing with, and his background is much different.
Art?
Pete, you guys have lost a lot of man games to injuries in the secondary, and you only started building the secondary, I guess, really with the Quandre Diggs trade a year ago. What gets most lost when you guys can't practice as a group together?
There's a level of confidence that comes from the communication and the regularity of the communication. It's not just verbal communication; it's nonverbal. It's a feel for one another. This is such a high-tech area of the game that guys have to really be able to fit and feel one another. And so we have just not had that continuity. We've not had the good fortune of that. So I'm hoping that as we keep going here, as we get a chance to finish in the stretch, that we'll keep our guys out there together and we can make some progress. I thought Trey Flowers played the best game he's played in a long time, maybe his best game ever in terms of technique and consistency. He had a great week. If you remember, I said that last week. It was the best he's ever looked. He looks like his confidence is an all-time high. I think that's a really great step for him. He's had an opportunity to play a couple weeks in a row, and he really is coming back. Quandre's done a great job back there for us in the middle, controlling things, but he's communicating really in game time situations. I guess it's like the third time with Jamal, and Jamal's a very high-spirited, highly communicative guy, and so they have to work together under the stressors of the game, and so they're learning. So that's why I'm not. You're wondering about where the patience comes from, but I think it's out of necessity right now that we have to work our guys through it, and hopefully when Shaq gets back and we get those four guys out there together, and whether it's Quandre or check that Quentin or not, we'll see how it goes. But we can get better. DJ Reed did a nice job for us in the 2 weeks that he's played for us. Remember, he had only practiced 1 week with us before. No, it was the 1 week before he played last week. So there's just more stuff to be gained here, and really the lack of the off season would be a factor for these guys, where they would have been all healthy through all the weeks being out on the practice field and all that communication. That would have helped this group. It's a new bunch, but I think we're going to continue to get better, and we're going to make a move. It's going to look, hopefully it looks markedly different than what's happened in the first half, and the numbers and stuff don't give you so much fuel to keep asking the questions and feeling bad about it, and all of us included, and we can turn this thing around.
Michael Sean?
Hey Pete, some of the veteran guys have kind of hinted that you guys need to be better in like situational football on D. How does that communication go in the game day from you to Ken or to even to Andre and to the players, in the back end?
Well, I think we're probably talking about third downs or red zone, those type of situations. 2 minutes, that might be. Those are the situations that we refer to. We have not been very good in the 2-minute situation when we're ahead. Guys have moved the football pretty well. Kind of the extended 2-minute situations when other teams are in catch-up. So we're just constantly on the topic. We're constantly sharing the ideas and the things that we need to do in the game plan and preparation. We're on the sidelines doing it just like you do, and we try to stay ahead of it, and we communicate really well. Our guys they're good on the sidelines. They listen. They have input. So we're doing the things that you need to do, and nothing's really changed about that.
Brian mentioned on the offensive side of the ball benefited from being up in the box, seeing things. Would you guys consider putting a defensive guy up there, or is there anyone up there already? I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's like 4 guys upstairs. Yeah, we've got a whole full crew up there. They're reporting down. You guys would be interested in how that conversation goes. The coordination of where the ball is on the field and the situation and the personnel coming in, reminders about particular personnel on the field that send you in one way or the other with information. All of that takes place within the seconds between each play, and it's a very fluent conversation that goes on to make the call each time. So there's a lot of stuff working.
Thanks.
AJ?
So you sort of touched on it there, but that was along my question. It seemed like you guys had this plan that you thought was going to be great in Buffalo, and then they started doing something that you weren't necessarily expecting. So what is the communication?
Yeah, let me help you with that a little bit. You plan for you plan for run and pass and the style of play and all of that, and so each week you have to plan for all of it, and then sometimes teams change. Rarely do they change that drastically where they don't even try to run, and so that was it, and we just had to. It takes a little while before you realize, are they not, what mode are they in, and we have to gather enough stats and numbers to get that feel, and so it didn't take very long. It took about 8 or 10 plays in the game, and that they're not really trying yet, and so they had done that a couple times earlier in the year, and they had balanced things out more recently. So that's all that is. I know that when I make that mention, it sounds like, okay, we weren't prepared for this, oh gosh, why weren't we? Well, it's just it was an unusual circumstance, and so we just had to turn to it, and that's all it was really. It's not any more than that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Masvita?
Yeah. Hey, Pete, I was just wondering the messaging regarding pressing in terms of how you tell guys, don't press, but be confident, execute and be patient with the process.
Yeah, that's a real ongoing conversation, that starts like way, way, way back. When we start a season up, it's about how you prioritize, the focus and your efforts and all of that, and how we want to manage that, the mentality. And so it's an ongoing concern of mine, always talking to the individual players and then talking to the team, or talking to one side of the ball or the other, that we don't want to be dependent on the situations to fuel us, and we don't want to be dependent on the matchups or the situations at all, or the build-up or the hype or the whatever, So, I mean, if you just think about how, we've never talked about rivals. We never talk about, big matchups. We never, go back to those kinds of things, because I think that's just it's a trap, It's a trap to say that this game's more important than that game, or this player's better than that player, and so you got to do this and you got to do that, when really it's all about controlling the things that you can control, which is your own performance. And I can't do anything about the other guy or what they call and all that. I can't do anything about that. We have to respond to it, and the best way to do that is to do the things that you know how to do. So that's the constant mentality that helps guys stay in tune with, okay, how can I perform well? Well, do what you know how to do as best you can, regardless of what the circumstances are. That's a tremendous discipline that it takes to do that. And people fall prey to it all the time, and it's normal to fall prey to that, to playing up and down and back and forth and not bouncing back or bouncing back too hard or whatever. This is something we're teaching all the time. I hope our players take it with them through everything that they do after. This is a really important discipline, and so something we work on constantly.
Brady?
Hey, Pete, I'm just wondering, with Monet dealing with the high ankle injury, do you think this is the week that Damon Harrison plays?
Well, he's available. He's ready to go. And the way it looks, we got to have some more information on Brian's situation so we can take care of him. But this is where Snacks would jump up right now. And this is what he's been looking for and preparing for.
Thanks.
Jackie?
Coach, what did you think of Carlos Dunlap's performance? How did you assess his?
It's a good, solid game. A lot. He did a lot in a short amount of time just to get out there and play the whole game. I don't think he had a missed assignment. He misread something one time in pressure, but he played really well under those circumstances. Again, he didn't know who he was talking to hardly. He knows Bobby and KJ maybe and Jay Reed, but and Puna. He probably knows half the guys out there. He did very well. He showed what he's always showed, the power that he has. He overwhelmed the tackle one time. Had a clean sack. That was what he's been famous for, and it was great to see that. He added a couple other tackles in the backfield and did some really nice things. So I think it's a really positive move for us. It doesn't always translate into what happened, for the rest of the defense, but we're fortunate to have him, and he was really a good dude, and it was fun to play with him.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.